The last SOS. The sky of Helion was burning again, and everyone on the planet knew it meant only one thing: the enemy had returned. The Silence Fleet, the most feared force in the outer galaxy, had reached their world. Their shadows covered the night sky, and their weapons cut through the air like falling stars. Buildings exploded, alarms screamed, and fear spread through every street like fire. Commander Raylan stood on the last tower of the capital city, watching the sky break apart. He was a proud Helion soldier with silver skin and bright blue eyes, but tonight those eyes were full of fear. He tried to stay calm as he looked at the huge enemy ships blocking the sky. Their black metal bodies showed no lights, no windows, no signs of life. They looked less like ships and more like giant silent monsters from a nightmare. Raylan's officers shouted behind him. "Commander! The Eastern Shield is gone. The bunkers are full. Civilians cannot escape. Our weapons are not working on their armor." Every report was a knife in Raylan's heart. He knew this moment would come. The Silence had already destroyed 3 other planets in this sector. No one had stopped them. No one had even slowed them down. Helion was next, and maybe the last. For a moment, the commander closed his eyes. The screams around him felt distant. He remembered the stories told by his ancestors, stories about a lost species that lived in a dark corner of the galaxy. A species that many called monsters, others called warriors, and a few called protectors. But those were only stories, stories he never believed. Then a sudden explosion shook the tower. The ground under his feet cracked. A huge silence drone crashed into the building. Raylan fell to the floor, dust filling his lungs. His officers ran to him and helped him stand. "Commander! We cannot hold the city." Raylan looked at the burning horizon. The Silence ships were moving closer. They were hunting survivors now. Helion was dying. And then, he remembered the old device stored deep beneath the capital. A machine no one had touched for hundreds of years. A forbidden machine. A machine built to send one message across the entire galaxy, an SOS that reached beyond normal space. An SOS that only one species was rumored to understand. Raylan took a deep breath. "Open the vault," he said. The officers looked shocked. "Commander, that signal, it has never been answered. Not even once." "I know," Raylan said quietly. "But today, we have no choice." They rushed down into the underground vault, far below the burning city. The heavy doors opened with a deep metallic sound. Inside, the chamber glowed faintly with an ancient blue light. At the center stood the SOS beacon, tall, dark, and covered with old symbols. It pulsed slowly like a sleeping heart. Raylan approached it carefully. He placed his hand on the activation crystal. The chamber lights brightened. "Commander," an officer whispered, "do you really believe the Deathworlders are real?" Raylan did not answer. He himself did not know. The Deathworlders were part of old legends, humans, a species so dangerous they were said to come from a planet that tried to kill them every day. A species the galaxy feared and avoided. But also a species that sometimes answered calls for help. If they existed at all. Another explosion shook the vault. Dust fell from the walls. Time was running out. Raylan pressed the activation crystal. The beacon woke. A deep vibration filled the chamber. Strange light spun around the device. Energy waves shot upward through the tower, piercing the sky like a spear. A loud humming sound spread through the entire capital. The SOS was sent. Across the burning planet, every surviving Helion looked up as a bright beam shot into space. Many fell to their knees. Some whispered prayers. Some cried. The Silence Fleet noticed the signal. Their ships turned. Their weapons charged. They began targeting the source. Inside the vault, the beacon continued to glow. Raylan watched it, feeling the weight of every life on Helion. He whispered to himself, "Please, someone hear us." Then something happened. The beam of light from the beacon hit a distant point in deep space, far beyond any known map. The light vanished as though swallowed by darkness. The Silence ships closed in on the tower. Their cannons charged to full power. The Helions waited for death. And then the sky changed. Space above Helion twisted, rippled, and then tore open like fabric. A dark void formed. Lightning arcs flashed around it. The Silence ship stopped moving. Even they seemed confused. A giant shape appeared inside the void. Its hull was dark metal, scarred by old battles. Its engines glowed with a cold blue fire. It looked nothing like the ships of the galaxy. It looked alive. Dangerous. Silent. The first human warship had arrived. Raylon stared with wide eyes. No, this cannot be real. But it was real. The Deathworlders had heard the SOS. The human warship slowly emerged from the rift, its presence overwhelming, its power impossible to measure. Hope, something Helion had lost long ago, returned like a spark in the darkness. And the Silence fleet, for the first time in history, hesitated. The arrival of the impossible. The entire planet Helion froze in silence as the human warship fully emerged from the rift. It was enormous, larger than any vessel the Helions had ever seen. Its hull looked old, worn, and full of scars, as if it had survived 1,000 battles. Strange triangular symbols glowed faintly on its surface, giving it an ancient but deadly aura. No one spoke. Not the Helions. Not the Silence fleet. Not even the human ship. It simply stood there, like a giant waking from a long sleep. Commander Raylon stared at it from the ruined tower. His breathing stopped for a moment. He had heard the legends of Deathworlders, but nothing prepared him for this. A small officer whispered beside him, "Commander, is that a human ship?" Raylon did not answer. His mind could not process what he was seeing. The ship felt wrong and right at the same time, like a predator that had chosen to walk among prey. Then a soft hum filled the air. The human ship powered up. Blue lights ran across its body like veins. Its massive engines pushed dust and debris across the battlefield. The Silence fleet, which had been moving toward the beacon, paused in confusion. A heartbeat later, a voice echoed across every communication channel on Helion. It was deep, calm, and carried a strange cold confidence. "This is the human flagship Vanguard. Helion distress signal received. Situation assessed." Every Helion felt a shiver run down their spine. A human voice. Real. Alive. Here. Then the voice continued. "Stand by. We will handle this." The Silence fleet responded instantly. Their ships opened fire. Dark red beams shot through the sky, targeting the human flagship. The beams could melt mountains, crush shields, and erase entire armies. They hit the Vanguard directly. Helions screamed. Officers cried out. Raylon felt his heart stop. The smoke cleared. And the human ship was completely untouched. Not a single burn. Not a single crack. Nothing. Even the Silence fleet hesitated. Then the human commander spoke again, calm as ice. "Vanguard to hostile fleet, step away." The Silence ships answered with a second barrage. Stronger. Angrier. The sky turned red, the air vibrated, and explosions thundered across the capital. But the Vanguard still did not move. Raylon whispered, "What are humans made of?" A Helion soldier replied, voice shaking, "War." Then the Vanguard finally moved. Not fast. Not dramatic. It simply opened one of its front panels. Inside was a glowing sphere of blue-white energy. The humans fired exactly one shot. A thin blue beam, silent and sharp as a knife, crossed the sky. It touched the first Silence ship. The ship evaporated. Not exploded. Not burned. It simply vanished, gone in a flash of light. Then the beam split into 10 smaller lines. Each hitting another Silence ship. Each ship disappearing the same way. The battlefield went silent. Raylon could not breathe. His officers stood frozen, unable to blink. With one shot, someone whispered. The human ship slowly closed its weapon port. Then the voice returned. Target lock complete. Tactical superiority confirmed. The Silence fleet finally reacted. They retreated a few kilometers and formed a defensive pattern. They unleashed drones, thousands of them, small, deadly machines shaped like knives. The drones rushed toward the planet, toward the civilians, toward the surviving Hellions. "Commander," an officer yelled. "The city." Raylon knew they were too fast. No Hellion weapon could stop them. But then the Vanguard unleashed something new. From its belly, hundreds of small human drones shot out, silver spheres with blue lights. They moved faster than anything in the sky. They slammed into the Silence drones with perfect precision. Every impact created a small blue flash. Every flash was a destroyed Silence drone. In less than 10 seconds, the sky cleared. Not a single Silence drone survived. Raylon felt tears rise in his eyes. They saved us. But the battle was far from over. The ground shook as a massive Silence battleship approached, bigger than any seen before. It was covered in dark red lights, its hull cracked from past wars. It pointed its superweapon directly at the human Vanguard. The Hellions braced for impact. But the humans reacted first. Vanguard initiating counter-protocol. All Hellion forces, stay clear. The ship began to glow with a faint silver aura. The air pulsed with a strange energy, and gravity around the tower shifted, rocks lifted, metal bent. The Silence battleship fired. A giant wave of red destruction burst through the atmosphere. Heading straight for the humans. Raylon shut his eyes. But the human ship didn't fall. The silver aura absorbed the blast like water hitting a stone. Then the Vanguard responded with a blast that split the clouds. A beam of pure white energy. Silent. Straight. Deadly. It punched through the Silence battleship like a spear. The massive enemy ship cracked open, fire bursting out. Then it fell from the sky like a dying star. The Hellions watched in disbelief. Raylon whispered, "The legends were wrong. Humans are not monsters." He looked at the human ship glowing in the burning sky. They are something worse. They are warriors who do not run. The part ends as the Vanguard scans the region and detects something enormous approaching from deep space. Something big. Something ancient. Something even the humans consider dangerous. The Silence mothership. The Deathworlders strike back. The Silence battleship fell burning through the clouds, breaking into pieces before crashing into the far mountains. For the first time since the invasion began, the people of Hellion lifted their heads and felt something they had forgotten long ago. Hope. Commander Raylon stood on the ruined balcony, staring at the human flagship Vanguard. Its hull glowed in the smoke-filled sky like a metal guardian. It did not move like a machine. It moved like a living thing, calm, powerful, unafraid. But while the Hellions watched with awe, the Vanguard's sensors picked up something far more terrifying. A deep thrum echoed through the clouds. The air grew heavier. Even the ground began to vibrate. Far out in space, a shadow slowly passed behind the sun's light. Something massive was approaching. "Commander," one of Raylon's officers whispered, voice trembling, "that cannot be a ship." But it was. A Silence mothership. Bigger than a moon. Built to destroy planets. A dark fortress drifting toward Helion like a hungry beast. Raylon felt every muscle in his body freeze. If that thing fires once, our world is gone. The Silence mothership opened thousands of glowing red eyes, weapon ports preparing to target the planet. But then a new sound cut through the air. Dozens of blue rifts opened across the sky, tearing the atmosphere like silk. From each rift emerged a human warship, sleek, dark, deadly. The air cracked under their entry, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. 1 ship. 2 ships. 10 ships. Dozens. A full human fleet had arrived. The Hellions watched in pure disbelief. They had never seen humans before today, now an entire Deathworlder battle group was gathering above their burning sky. The Vanguard spoke again. Helion forces, do not fear. Human fleet, Iron Reach, has arrived. Raylon's throat tightened. An entire fleet, for us? No. Not just for Helion. Humans had responded to an SOS like it was a personal challenge. The fleet moved with perfect coordination, forming a defensive circle around the planet. Their engines glowed with white fire, their weapons humming with power no Helion scientist could explain. Then the Silence mothership fired its first warning shot. A deep crimson beam surged across space. It was so massive it lit up the entire sky for a heartbeat. Every Helion thought the humans were finished. But the Deathworlders were built from a world that never forgave weakness. The Vanguard activated its shield, an enormous blue sphere that expanded like a bubble of lightning. The Silence beam struck the shield, turning the sky white. For 3 long seconds, the world held its breath. And then, the shield held. Raylon nearly collapsed in relief. But the humans were not satisfied with survival. They went on the attack. The first wave of human warships dived forward, engines leaving trails of glowing ice-blue energy. They fired gravity spears, thin beams that twisted space itself. The spears hit the Silence escort ships, bending their armor, crushing their hulls, snapping them in half like toys. The Hellions screamed, not from fear this time, but from amazement. Humanity was not fighting. Humanity was dominating. The Silence mothership responded by releasing its drone swarm, millions of needle-shaped machines, each one deadly enough to pierce through armored bunkers. The sky darkened as the swarm poured toward Helion. Raylon panicked. The drones will reach the surface. But before the swarm could break atmosphere, the human fleet executed something extraordinary. A deep hum pulsed from their ships. Hundreds of silver human drones launched from the Vanguard, forming a shield wall in the upper sky. They moved like a single mind, rotating into a perfect sphere around the planet. Every time a Silence drone hit the human drone wall, a flash of blue fire followed. Pieces of metal fell, burning in the atmosphere like shooting stars. The Hellions watched the lights fall like rain. You see, a Helion child whispered. The humans, they're protecting us. On the ground, human drop pods shot down like comets. They landed in burning cities, opening to reveal human soldiers, heavy armored warriors with calm eyes and steady hands. They didn't run, didn't shout, didn't show fear. They simply started saving lives. A human soldier lifted a fallen beam off a trapped Helion mother as if it weighed nothing. Another soldier scanned wounded civilians with tiny healing drones. A medic wrapped a child in a warmth blanket and whispered. You're safe now. We're here. Raylon watched with tears in his eyes. The galaxy had always feared humans. Stories said they were too strong, too wild, too dangerous. But reality was different. They were fighters, yes. But they were protectors first. Above, the Silence mothership began charging its planet-killer cannon. The core glowed with deep red light, large enough to destroy Helion in one strike. But the humans were already moving. The Vanguard's engines ignited with white fire. All ships, the human commander said. Prepare for the Titan formation. The entire fleet shifted into a strange new pattern, like pieces of a giant weapon aligning into place. Something enormous was coming. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Something only the Deathworlders would dare to use. And as the formation locked, the sky shook like a living thing. The Void Titan battle. The Hellion sky trembled as the human fleet shifted into a massive formation. No Hellion scientist had ever seen this shape before. It looked like a giant three-layered triangle made of warships, glowing slowly with silver light. Commander Raylon stared upward with wide eyes. What are they doing? Beside him, an officer swallowed hard. Commander, humans are combining their ship reactors. It's impossible. No species links warship cores together. It should explode. But the humans didn't explode. They stabilized. Every human ship began pulsing with synchronized heartbeats, deep thumps that shook the atmosphere. Thump. 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 The Silence mothership responded by powering its planet-killer cannon. The red glow at its center intensified, expanding like a dying star ready to burst. The world seemed to hold its breath. A whisper came through the communication channels, so soft it felt like a ghost. Titan Protocol, unlocked. The Hellions gasped. The human formation erupted in a storm of white lightning. Every ship connected through beams of pure energy. The sky became a glowing web of power, so bright it burned shadows into the ground. Raylon shielded his eyes. This is no fleet. This is something else. The Titan formation began pulling in matter from the atmosphere. Wind roared. Clouds spiraled downward. Gravity twisted gently, pulling dust and debris upward. Even the Silence mothership seemed to hesitate. Then the humans fired. Not a beam. Not a missile. Not a cannon. Something far stranger. Space itself cracked. A massive rift opened above the human fleet, glowing with white and blue fire. The rift shook reality like a drum. Energy waves rolled across the sky, turning the darkness into swirling silver mist. The Silence ships instinctively moved back. They knew fear. Raylon whispered, barely breathing, they opened, a controlled void tear. No species had ever done that. Not without destroying their entire fleet. Not without ripping space apart. But the humans were controlling it, shaping it, holding it steady like a sword made of pure nothing. Then the voice of the human commander echoed again. Target, Silence mothership. Anchor the void spear. From the rift, a giant beam of distorted space shot out, thin, sharp, and flickering like a blade made of broken reality. The void spear slammed straight into the mothership's shields. The sound was like worlds cracking. The mothership screamed. Not with a voice. With its metal. The hull bent inward. Shields shattered like glass. Red energy surged out as the void spear sliced deeper. But the Silence were not defeated yet. Their mothership unleashed thousands of megadrones, bigger, stronger, and faster than anything they'd sent before. The sky turned dark again as the swarm dived toward the human fleet. Commander, an officer shouted. Humans are outnumbered. Raylon shook his head. Not today. The Vanguard broke formation for the first time. Its engines roared with raw power. Blue flames burned across its wings as it sped forward alone, rushing directly toward the drone swarm. Human soldiers on the ground watched their flagship rise through smoke and clouds. A soldier whispered, "Show them, Vanguard. Show them why Earth is feared." The swarm surrounded the human flagship, covering it like a black storm of death. Explosions burst across its shields. Giant drone claws slashed at its hull. But the ship kept going. It pushed through the swarm. Faster. Faster. Until, in a single instant, the Vanguard unleashed its hidden ability. A shockwave of silver fire blasted outward, vaporizing every drone within a kilometer radius. The sky turned white. The sound was like thunder mixed with static. The Vanguard tore through the last row of drones and aimed directly at the mothership's core. Raylon grabbed a railing to keep his balance. They're not just attacking. They're cutting straight to the heart. The Silence mothership tried to react. Its cannons turned toward the Vanguard. Massive beams fired downward. The ground soldiers screamed. But before the beams could hit, the human fleet moved again, instantly, perfectly. A dozen ships broke formation, forming a glowing barrier in front of the Vanguard. The beams struck them and shattered like water on stone. Human ships were pushed back, their armor burning, their shields screaming, but they did not break the line. They did not let the flagship fall. Raylon whispered, touched by the unity he saw, humans, they protect each other like family. Up above, the Titan formation strengthened the Void Spear, pushing it deeper into the mothership. Cracks spread across the Silence hull. Red energy surged in horrible waves. The Silence mothership started losing control. It shook violently. Its weapons flickered. Its shields died. Its armor peeled away. But at its core, a dark pulsing light appeared. The Silence were preparing something desperate. The mothership was charging its final attack. A self-destruction wave meant to wipe out the entire planet. Raylon gasped in fear. If they explode, Helion is gone. Even the human fleets faltered for a moment. Then the Vanguard did something insane. It accelerated straight toward the mothership's core. No! Raylon shouted. They'll die. The human commander's voice echoed one last time. Earth does not abandon the innocent. The flagship reached the core. And vanished inside the dark pulsing light. The sky went silent. Every Helion froze. Every soldier went still. Every heart stopped. And then, a light brighter than the sun erupted from the center. Hope returned with fire. The explosion burst through the sky like a newborn star. For a long moment, all of Helion was drenched in blinding white light. The mountains glowed. The ocean sparkled. The broken cities shone like silver. And then, the light faded. The Silence mothership was gone. Not broken. Not falling. Not retreating. Gone. Erased from existence. But the Vanguard. The human flagship that had thrown itself into the core. It was nowhere in sight. Commander Raylon felt a sharp pain in his chest. His hands trembled as he stared at the empty sky. They sacrificed themselves for us. Around him, the Helions stood in silent grief. Some collapsed to their knees. Some covered their faces. The human soldiers on the ground lowered their heads, their armor flickering with dim blue lights. One of the human soldiers whispered, "Flagship signal lost." A young Helion child tugged at Raylon's uniform. "Commander, humans saved us, right?" Raylon swallowed hard. "Yes. They did." The child looked up at the sky. "Then why did they disappear?" Raylon had no answer. But the galaxy was not done with miracles. Far above the clouds, something stirred. A tiny spark. A flicker in the darkness. Then a ripple, like the surface of a disturbed lake. The sky cracked again. A shockwave of silver-blue fire spread outward, gentle and warm like a sunrise. Helion's survivors looked up, shielding their eyes. Out of the shattered space. The Vanguard returned. Not damaged. Not burning. Not broken. Reborn. Its hull glowed with patterns of pure white light, like it had passed through something ancient and powerful. Its engines hummed deeper, stronger, like a living creature breathing calmly after a long sleep. Raylon's legs nearly gave out. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The Hellions cheered, cried, screamed joyously. Human soldiers looked up, stunned. No one had expected this. Not even them. The sky opened again. And the returning human ship broadcast a message across every channel. Vanguard restored. Mission successful. Hellion is safe. Even the Silence remnants felt it. The feeling of defeat so complete that retreat was the only answer. Their remaining ships scattered, warping away into the darkness, leaving the system forever. The human fleet didn't chase them. Because the humans had come for one reason only. To answer a call for help. Humanity walks the ground. Soon after, the Vanguard descended slowly, hovering above the capital ruins. Human medics, engineers, and rescue units spread across the battered streets, helping survivors. One human soldier approached Raylon. He was tall, armored, and calm. But when he removed his helmet, Raylon was shocked. The human looked surprisingly normal. No glowing eyes. No monstrous face. No terrifying features. Just a tired but kind expression. The human extended his hand. "Commander," he said softly, "your people called." We answered. Raylon shook his hand with trembling fingers. Why? Why help us? You owed us nothing. The soldier smiled faintly. Because one day, someone might have to help us too. The answer hit Raylon harder than any explosion. Humans fought like monsters. But thought like heroes. The gift from Earth. Later, as the sun set behind the smoke-filled horizon, the human commander sent a holographic projection to Raylon. The glowing figure stood tall, his voice deep and steady. "We are leaving Hellion soon. But you will not face danger alone again." He raised a small metallic cube. It floated above his palm, spinning gently. "This beacon will connect Hellion directly to Earth. If you ever need us, activate it once. We will come." Raylon felt tears slip down his cheeks. "You came today, even though no one believed you existed." The commander nodded. "We exist. We watch. We act." The hologram dissolved. The final moment. As the human fleet prepared to leave, the entire planet gathered in the ruined city square. Children waved. Families held up lights. Warriors stood with their weapons lowered in respect. The Vanguard rose into the sky, engines glowing brighter. Raylon whispered to himself. The galaxy feared humans because of their strength. He looked around at the people humans had saved. But they should fear humans because of their kindness. The human fleet aligned into formation. One by one, their engines activated, lighting the clouds with white fire. Then the rift opened again. The same crack in space from where the humans had first arrived. A deep voice echoed one last time. "Hellion, stand strong. Earth stands with you." And with a brilliant flash, the Deathworlders vanished into the void. Silent, powerful, unstoppable. Leaving behind a planet reborn with hope. The galaxy, watching from far away, whispered in fear and awe. If this is how humans answer a simple SOS, what will they become when the galaxy finally pushes them too far?